The god statue's eyes light up, staring directly down at the hunters. Song Chaeul shouts at everyone not to move, warning that any sudden motion will trigger another attack. Turning to Jinwoo, Song tells him that if he hadn't screamed when he did, they all would have died instantly. He asks how Jinwoo knew what was coming. Jinwoo stammers, explaining that he simply felt a strong, alarming gut instinct that something terrible was about to happen. Song Chaeul looks down at Jinwoo's hands and notices his right arm is missing. It was severed during the attack. Jinwoo stares in shock, but Song tries to stay calm, remarking that he has seen much worse on the battlefield and asks Jinwoo to help bandage his bleeding arm. As Jinwoo wraps his arm, Song reflects on his past, mentioning that he has survived B rank, A rank, and even S rank dungeon raids. He remembers the ancient commandments written on the stone tablet. First, worship the god. Second, praise the god. Third, prove your faith. He warns that anyone who disobeys these rules will not leave this place alive. Jinwoo asks what the first commandment was again, and Song replies, worship the god. Jinwoo slowly stands up and looks toward the god statue. Its red eyes flash intensely. Remembering the commandment, Jinwoo instantly drops to his knees and bows his head to the floor. As soon as he does, the glowing red light in the statue's eyes fades away. Realizing it worked, Jinwoo frantically shouts to everyone, bow your heads toward the god statue, right now. One hunter panics, asking if he's lost his mind, but Song Chaeul agrees with Jinwoo, urging everyone to bow as required by the first rule. The surviving hunters quickly bow down. A hunter whispers nervously, asking if bowing alone will truly save them. Suddenly, the giant god statue arches its lips into a terrifying, sinister smile. Another hunter slowly stands up and gasps, noticing that the statue has stopped attacking. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief, realizing they survived the first test. But Jinwoo internally cautions himself that was only the first commandment. Suddenly, the gargantuan god statue stands up from its throne. Song Chaeul asks Jinwoo what they should do next, and Jinwoo replies that they must fulfill the second commandment, praise the god. The hunters panic, asking how they are supposed to praise a giant monster. One hunter steps forward, claiming he knows religious texts, and kneels before the statue to chant prayers. The statue marches right over to him, smiles down creepily, and crushes him under its massive stone foot. Jinwoo realizes that ordinary prayers won't work on this ancient entity. The god statue begins stomping across the room, crushing fleeing hunters one by one. Song shouts that standing together is suicide and tells everyone to scatter. Jinwoo grabs Juhi's hand and sprints for his life. A nearby hunter takes shelter beside a stone statue holding a weapon, assuming he is safe, but the statue suddenly swings its weapon and slices him to pieces. Panicking, Jinwoo desperately racking his brain, how do they praise this god? He looks around the room and notices that some statues are holding swords, shields, or spears, while others are holding musical instruments like harps, drums, and flutes. He shouts to everyone, run to the statues holding instruments. The ones with weapons will kill you, but the ones with instruments won't attack. Song Chaeul reaches a statue holding a flute, and as soon as he stands before it, the stone figure comes to life and begins playing a melody. Song calls out to the others, telling them to hurry to the musical statues. Jinwoo drags Juhi toward a musical statue, but because Juhi is paralyzed with fear, the statue doesn't activate. Realizing the statue requires two people to play for them, Jinwoo lets go of Juhi's hand and sprints toward another empty musical statue. The god statue chases him, raising its giant stone foot right above Jinwoo's head. Jinwoo dives sideways just in time as the foot smashes into the ground. He scrambles back up, dodging another crushing blow using taekwondo footwork, telling himself, not today. Not today. Just as the god statue raises its foot for a final strike, one of the musical statues begins playing a horn. Hearing the music, the god statue freezes, turns around, and slowly marches back to its throne, sitting down once more. Jinwoo collapses onto the floor, gasping for air, realizing that music was the secret to praising the god. Joo-hee rushes over to his side, asking if he's okay. Jinwoo nods weakly, but Joo-hee gasps in horror at his leg. Jinwoo looks down and sees that his lower leg has been severed. Joo-hee immediately casts her green healing magic, crying out that she will heal him. Jinwoo tells her to stop because she's exhausting her mana, but blood begins dripping from Joo-hee's eyes and nose. The remaining hunters gather around. One hunter looks at Song Chae-yul, bitterly remarking that as the raid leader, he made a reckless decision that cost everyone their limbs and lives. Song hangs his head, admitting that it was his fault for pushing forward. But Jinwoo speaks up, telling them this isn't the time for arguments because one final rule remains. Suddenly, a giant stone altar rises from the center of the room. Jinwoo realizes this is for the final commandment, prove your faith. In ancient times, proving faith meant offering a sacrifice. Song Chae-yul steps up to the altar, drawing his sword, and places it against his own neck, offering himself as the sacrifice to save the group. As Song approaches the altar, a bright red flame ignites on its surface. Song asks Jinwoo what this means. Jinwoo asks the others to help carry him closer to inspect it. As they approach, more flames ignite around the altar, matching the exact number of surviving hunters in the room. Jinwoo explains that they don't need to kill anyone, everyone just needs to stand inside the altar circle together. Song asks if someone will come to rescue them if they wait. Jinwoo explains that a gate takes 7 days to break open, but if they fail to clear the dungeon, the monsters inside will spill out into the human world. Meanwhile, the scene briefly cuts to Jinwoo's younger sister walking down a hospital hallway. She enters a room to visit their comatose mother, softly talking to her while she sleeps. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo tells the remaining 2 hunters to step inside the circle. As soon as they step in, a ring of blue flames erupts around the perimeter, and the heavy wooden exit doors slowly creak open. The remaining hunters celebrate, realizing the doors are open. But suddenly, the surrounding stone statues awaken and begin marching toward the altar. Jinwoo warns everyone, keep your eyes on the statues. As long as you maintain eye contact, they won't move, just like a game of red light, green light. The hunters stare at the statues, keeping them frozen, but the pressure and terror are overwhelming. Panicking, one hunter shoves Jinwoo aside and dashes out through the open exit doors. Song shouts at him to stop, but the hunter escapes safely. Jinwoo notices that when the hunter left, one of the blue flames extinguished, and the exit doors creaked slightly shut. Jinwoo realizes the cruel truth: the blue flames act as a countdown timer, and each time someone escapes, the doors close further. It was a psychological trap designed to make them betray each other. The second hunter panics, yelling that he has a family to go back to. He throws down his weapon and sprints out the door, leaving Jinwoo, Joo-hee, and Song Chae-yul behind. Jinwoo looks at the closing doors, knowing he desperately needs to get out. But Song Chae-yul insists that Jinwoo and Joo-hee should leave while he stays behind as the sacrifice. Suddenly, Joo-hee collapses onto her knees, her legs trembling violently from utter exhaustion and trauma. Jinwoo makes his decision. He hands Joo-hee a magic crystal, telling her that if he survives, he'll come collect the money he owes her. He then orders Song Chae-yul to carry the unconscious Joo-hee through the narrowing doors. Song hesitates, but Jinwoo yells at him to hurry. Song bows his head in gratitude, picks up Joo-hee, and dashes out through the exit. The heavy wooden doors slam shut, sealing Jinwoo inside the dark temple alone. Left by himself, Jinwoo grips a fallen sword with his remaining hand, determined to take down at least one statue before he dies. The stone knights swarm him, driving a spear through his torso and pinning him to the altar. Jinwoo spits up blood, crying out in bitter frustration. He reflects on how he was always the weakest hunter, mocked and looked down upon by everyone. He tried so hard to get stronger, but nothing ever changed. As a stone knight raises its massive sword above his neck, Jinwoo's mind screams in pure anger, wishing with all his heart for just one more chance. Right before the blade strikes, time stops completely. The sword freezes inches from his skin, and the final blue flame freezes in mid-air. Floating in front of Jinwoo's eyes is a glowing blue system screen. You have completed all requirements for the secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Will you accept the qualification to become a player? With his vision fading, Jinwoo takes one last breath and whispers, "I accept." And that wraps up episode 2. If you enjoyed this recap, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss episode 3. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you very soon in the next video.